My name is Sarah Leyland. I'm the Senior Osteoporosis Nurse and Helpline Manager at the National Osteoporosis Society.
So why should young people in particular be thinking about their bone health?
Well, although osteoporosis and the fragility fractures that it causes mostly affect older people, there's an awful lot that young people can do to build up their bone strength during their early years. Our bones grow in size and strength right through our childhood up to our mid-20s, and we reach our peak bone mass, that's the best our strength's ever going to be, at around the age of 30. So it's very important that young people take up healthy activity and healthy lifestyles in order to get the best bone strength they can before they reach that age. So a well-balanced mixed diet containing plenty of calcium is very important to build up strong bones. It's also important to take what we call load-bearing exercise. So that's the sort of exercise where the body's weight is pulling on the skeleton. It's also important not to have excessive amounts of alcohol. We know that smoking has a negative effect on bone strength. It's important to be out in a sensible amount of sunshine to get the vitamin D that helps us to absorb the calcium.
Why is body image important in osteoporosis?
Well, obviously body image is about how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about how we look and how other people perceive we look. And this is obviously really important in terms of our self-confidence and so on. I think the concern, particularly at the moment, is that for young people that's about being skinny, about being very, very thin. And in terms of osteoporosis, we know that having a very low body weight, and particularly the condition anorexia nervosa, does put us at risk of poorer, less strong bones in the future. This is partly because we're not getting the nutrients that we need to keep our bones strong, but it's also an effect on our hormone levels. So there is a real concern that in seeking to have a very positive body image and feel good about yourself, you might be putting yourself at osteoporosis risk for the future.
So how can osteoporosis affect our body image?
Well, osteoporosis means that bones are fragile and they're more likely to break, and it's the fragility fractures, particularly in the spine, that can affect and change our body shape and cause problems for people and their body image. So normally the bones in our spine are a nice rectangular shape. When they lose their strength, they can press down on themselves and become either flattened or even like a wedge of cheese. What this does is sort of shorten the trunk of the body and leads to, and it can be quite excessive height loss. So people can lose 6 inches, a foot in height because of this shortening of the trunk. Also what can happen is that the spine can then become curved, can tip forward, and a marked bend in the spine is often referred to as a kyphosis. That's the medical expression. And it's these changes in the spine that obviously have an enormous impact on the way people feel about themselves. So it's not everybody. Some people don't get a marked change and some people don't feel bad about it, but there are others certainly who ring us at the charity who are very distressed about these changes in body shape. Another problem that people can have because of the changes in the length of their torso is that there just isn't the space for the internal organs. So what can happen is the tummy gets pushed out, and people can often ring us on the helpline and say that they feel like they look as though they're pregnant because they've actually got such a protruding tummy. In fact, sometimes the rib cage can press right down on the pelvic rim, and therefore people feel this uncomfortable change in their body shape. So this can have an impact on a practical level. People can't find clothes that fit because they've changed in shape. But emotionally it can be quite distressing because people just notice that they're looking different, they've lost height, people comment on the fact that their back's curved. People often say they catch a glimpse of themselves in a mirror or a reflection in a window and they can see that they look like a different person, so that in itself can be quite distressing. On a deeper level, I think it's quite a difficult one, this whole thing about changes in the spine, curvature of the spine. And I think it relates to an image we have about getting older anyway. So there is a general negativity around getting older. So we hear about strokes, dementia, the pressure on the health service, the burden of osteoporotic fractures. So there's this whole negativity anyway. And I think this is at a subconscious level, but I think people are thinking about getting older, not feeling good about it anyway. And I think also we're being persuaded all the time, to take this product which changes our hair back to the colour it was, take this product to take our skin back to where it was. I think there's a lot of things going on culturally which have an impact. And I also think that at the far end of this negative continuum, we have the idea of the stereotypical old person who's like a sort of old crone, almost a witch figure who's very, very curved with a stick, something that we hear about in fairy tales. And I think that maybe has something to do with this very poor image we have of the change in spinal shape. So not only are people dealing with the practical problems, but they're thinking, I'm turning into this stereotype of an old person, and it's not a good image to have. So I think it's quite a complex emotional picture.